Hi friends, let's take a look at Tezos together. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I appreciate that the prices have dropped down here, back down below that 2,800 area on the Tezos versus Bitcoin pairing. And if we look over towards the USD pairing, we're down here towards the below that 258 area that we're talking about. We're below the 236 here. We're, challenging this line currently in today's price action, looking like maybe we could get below, maybe close below it, maybe have this downward trend. Maybe Amith, who asked recently, are we actually in a downward trend quite yet? Maybe we're starting to see this actually kind of at the minute. Who knows? This is certainly a lower low at the minute. It would be anyway, and you can see that we've got this sort of class B. Well, we're not getting any lower really. There on the RSI, the price action going lower compared to this sort of this chunk here sideways here. So you can see that there's this, like, we're asking the question, but we have class B at the minute, bullish divergence in a sense. Like, if the prices did turn around from here, this could be a place for that to happen at. There's other things to be aware of as well, of course. Like, look at that, that's a shoulder, that's a head, that's a shoulder, and the volume profile doesn't really line up so perfectly with a head and shoulders, but we do have an upward price movement and the run up to it. It is a short-term reversal pattern, so you could see that, in which case you could put a neckline in at around about these necklines things. When it comes to head and shoulder necklines, I always find it kind of a bit of a bitch to put them in, to be honest with you. But we could put in something like that just in general. You could easily actually just say that it's here, and that this is the neckline here and here and here. So let's just leave it like that instead, and say that we're currently kind of challenging that at the minute. If we see the volume break, go up higher than it has been previously as we're dropping down here, and say we test the 382 at 239 here, move down the way, then of course you'd have downward price. You maybe would looking at this and saying there's a head and shoulders movement off the back of it. Take a sort of rough. We'll do it a couple of ways. First off, if you just went for the full thing, that would bring you down to $2. But realistically, actually you'd be looking more towards the 220 area in terms of a head and shoulders, getting a full measured move off of the back of that, and that would bring you down to 220. So that's what we could be looking at on that one if that were to be the case. Now, of course, that doesn't need to be the case. Like we're saying, if this were to pin out to a local low and the prices were to go back up there, you'd be doing a number of things all at once, going back up above this pink upward sloping line, which is part of this potential for an ascending triangle that's on the charts here. I understand as well if they find that impossible to see right now. I can barely interpret my own charts, so I'm surprised if anybody else can. You'd be going up towards this area of the other 236, to invalidate that Fibonacci. But bear in mind that this Fibonacci remains valid at the minute. 240 is an area where we could go to, and if you wanted to see a turnaround on this one, the big areas for turnaround, the three main areas are, of course, 239, 218, and 198. So basically 240, 220, and $2 there for turnarounds for this one. Now let's go over to the comments real quick, because somebody said, Thai Sport. Hi, Thai Sport. Thanks so much for putting a comment in, by the way. Really appreciate it. The fact, I think I'm giving up on Tezos. It just doesn't really pump ever. Well, yeah, okay. The fact is that I couldn't even hold high $2, barely broke 3, dumped, can't recover while Link and others rebounded. Now we're talking about needs higher lows, so many better things to invest in. Tezos is losing steam. Well, okay, and in general, for the sake of the channel and whatnot, comments like that are quite valuable to me, because this channel, as I grow it and whatever else, like I'm basically the only person who does daily technical analysis for Tezos. I do think that Tezos is a good coin that will grow in time, and that it deserves to be up there and amongst the top 10. I definitely don't think that any stable coin deserves to be in the top 10. I think that's kind of just wrong. So effectively, in my head, it already is a top 10 crypto, and yes, okay. That sort of feeling, that malaise that you get there, is totally understandable after a period of since the 25th of April all the way over here until the 26th of June, essentially having just gone sideways. It's totally understandable. But so I think these things myself too as well. Like, what's best for the channel? I can't do every single crypto. If you look over at the channel as well, as Zilica video that I put out is my best performing video, so I should really do more of those, in a sense. So uh, so what I'm thinking of doing is kind of integrating these all into the one video, or something like that, and so that they'll kind of have like Bitcoin and other coins in the one video, or just Bitcoin and then a video for 3 or 4 different altcoins or something like that. And I would be appreciating letting you let me know your comments. But For people out there though who are also thinking, and Ty yourself as well, for thinking, if you wrote this comment and you kind of wrote it to me, and I really appreciate that, genuinely do. Thanks so much for that. But if you could write comments, if everybody could write comments, for each other, then we could maybe start a conversation out there, and somebody else could maybe be, this is kind of quite obvious, I think, to people who are reading the comments that this is directed towards me. If you directed it out towards the community, you could say something like, what does everybody else think? Is anybody else, well, what bags is everybody else holding? Did you watch the Zilica video recently? Are you interested in that? Something like that would really, really help the channel grow, I think, if people could have a conversation with each other, because I think that was a good thing. And if you want to watch my Bitcoin video, you'll see me talking about this in quite a bit of detail today, in terms of the first follower type chat. So would appreciate that. I'm going to go back to the technical analysis now. Yes, that's what we could look like. That's the bearish scenario. The bullish scenario, I think, speaks for itself quite clearly. Moving up above the 256 line, going up towards targets of, say, 284. And like Ty says, you want to be holding these higher $2 and going up towards the $3, yada, yada. If it does, then the percentage moves and these things are like huge. Like going up towards things like the previous high would be a 20% rise from where it is now. If you're trading this, then there actually is a good coin to trade, right? I just want to put this out there. It actually is a good coin to trade. Now, while I said largely sideways, I've been trading this coin and stuff. Looking at the highs over there to the lows that we've just had, just coming down to, say, here, you're looking at a 20% movement in price. And this is between the 3rd of June and the 7th of June. 20% movements in price of something over the period of 4 days, from a trader's perspective, is a fantastic volatile asset to trade. Looking at this as being sideways from a range trader point of view, just somebody who was able to get in down here and say, well, look, I think this is the bottom of the range over here, somewhere in that area. I think somewhere up there is the top of the range. Not even taking the full lows, not trying to catch a knife, not trying to do the whatever the fuck you call the opposite of catching a knife. And you got 25% move towards the top side. Somebody again who's like, oh, the prices are going down a bit here. It looks pretty crappy. Maybe it'll just be going down 15%. Like in terms of trading this thing, it's actually really, really, really good. I'm going to tune out now, actually. That's good enough for today's video. Whatever. Thanks very much for tuning in. Let's just look at the dollar prices. The Bitcoin prices, yeah, same story. Same story. In terms of, like, will we be going down any further? Will we have divergences here showing up, comparing it to the last low? But if you compare it to this one over here, like the actual last low, not this semi low here, then we're looking at bullish divergence. Blah blah blah. Same sort of story. 786. Great place for the prices to turn around at. It would be kind of funny, I think, for everybody out there if it did pump. If we're looking at what you wanted to call a pump anyway, Ty. By the way, what do you mean by a pump? What do you mean? Let me and everybody else know. But say the prices went from here up to their previous highs. You're looking at 20% movement in price. That's huge. The equivalent of looking at 20% moves if we were looking over at dollar price at Bitcoin, for instance. Bitcoin moving down in that same period of time is like less. We're getting 20% moves on Tezos. You're getting less than that on thingy. If it were to go up 20% from where it is now, let's have a look at this. 20% from where it is now. Let's just say it's there now. Fuck it. And it went up 20%. Euro 20%, $2,000, $1,800 movement in price. What did you mean? But I understand as well, because I explained how I understood it initially from the at the start of the video. Yep. Cheers. Thanks very much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. Catch you in the next video.